Are you ready for some potentially disappointing news, Celtics fans? The trade deadline is fast approaching, and it looks like our beloved team might not shake things up as much as we hoped. With the roster already looking solid and financial constraints looming large, it seems the only move on the table could be the departure of a player who hasn't made much of an impact. Can you guess who it is? Stick around as we dive into the details that could leave us yearning for more action this season. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give us a like to stay in the loop on all things Celtics. As we dive into the latest developments surrounding our beloved Boston Celtics, it's hard not to feel a mix of anticipation and disappointment leading up to the trade deadline. You know, every year brings this sense of hope and excitement, but it seems like the Celtics might just be the most boring team in the league at this moment, at least from a transaction standpoint. The truth is, Boston's roster is in a really solid place, and that's a blessing and a curse. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Derek White are cornerstones of this franchise, and management is not about to rush into any trades that could disrupt the chemistry they've built. However, as fans, we crave movement and fresh faces, right? The NBA landscape is all about player movement these days, and watching other teams make bold moves can leave us feeling a bit left out. But let's face it, the Celtics are not in a financial position to make any significant changes. They're a second apron team, which means trading any of our main guys just isn't on the table. So, what does that leave us with as the deadline approaches? Well, it appears Jaden Springer is the most likely candidate to be moved. ESPN has reported that trading Springer could involve attaching a second-round pick just to shed his $4 million salary, which is a move designed to ease the burden of the luxury tax. And let's be honest, every dollar counts when you're as deep into the tax as the Celtics are right now. The idea of trading Springer isn't new. It's been rumored for months. Before the season even kicked off, there were whispers that the front office was exploring ways to offload his contract in hopes of keeping Lonnie Walker IV around. That didn't pan out, but here we are, staring down the barrel of yet another trade deadline with Springer seemingly on the chopping block. But if that's the only move we make, how will that sit with us as fans? Honestly, I'm torn. I mean, last season, we at least got to see some new faces like Xavier Tillman and Springer himself come through the door. And that added a little spark, a little excitement. But now, if shedding Springer is the only move we make, that's going to feel pretty underwhelming. Sure, we'll save some money, and that's important for our long-term financial health. But what about the immediate impact? What about the dreams we hold as fans for this season? Every trade, every signing, brings with it the hope of something new energy, new possibilities. And if we're sitting here on the other side of the deadline with just a simple salary dump, is that really enough to satiate our hunger for success? I understand the need for financial flexibility, especially considering how tight the luxury tax situation can be. But shouldn't we also be thinking about how to bolster this roster for a championship run? Every team around us is making moves, trying to get better, while we're left to watch from the sidelines. It can be frustrating, to say the least. And here's the kicker. What if Springer does get traded? What does that mean for our depth? Does it signal a larger strategy at play, or are we just trying to save a few bucks? There's so much uncertainty in the air, and as passionate fans, we deserve clarity. We deserve a front office that not only looks at the numbers, but also understands the emotional investment we have in this team. So, I want to hear from you all. What do you think about the direction we're heading in? Are you okay with a quiet deadline if it means maintaining our core? Or do you think we should be more aggressive in making moves? And you, what do you think? I want to hear your opinions down below. As we dive into the swirling rumors surrounding the Boston Celtics, the trade deadline looms ever closer, and it's an exhilarating time for us fans. The Celtics, despite some recent setbacks, remain a powerhouse with a roster capable of chasing consecutive championships. But as we've seen in the world of sports, nothing is ever set in stone. Let's focus on 3 players who could potentially be on the move before that February 6th deadline. First up is Jordan Walsh. Now, I know what you're thinking. Walsh is young and has a promising future. He's only in his second year, and truth be told, he's the least likely to get traded from this trio. But here's the kicker. He's got a better shot at being moved than many of his teammates. The Celtics might look to add depth on the wing, and Walsh, with his defensive prowess, could be packaged in a deal to bring in a more seasoned player with a better offensive game. It's a tantalizing proposition, especially considering his struggles to find his rhythm on offense with just 1.7 points per game. And while I'm not expecting a trade here, I wouldn't completely dismiss it. Moving on to Xavier Tillman, we see a player who, quite frankly, has been a bit of a ghost this season. Acquired to bolster the Celtics' front court, Tillman has found himself riding the bench, averaging a mere 7.8 minutes per game. With the return of Kristaps Porzingis, Tillman's role has diminished significantly. In fact, he's had 9 DNPs since Porzingis got healthy. It's hard to see a future for him in Boston, especially with his numbers, just 1.1 points and 1.5 rebounds per game. The Celtics are in a bit of a bind financially, and trading Tillman could provide some relief. If the front office is considering a shakeup, he's certainly the most likely candidate to be moved, especially as part of a salary dump. That's a tough pill to swallow for those of us rooting for him, but it may be necessary for the greater good of the team. Now, let's talk about Jaden Springer. Here's a player who's been in a similar situation as Tillman. He's yet to find his footing in the Celtics rotation, playing in just 14 games this season. With established guards like Drew Holiday, Derek White, and Peyton Pritchard in the mix, there just aren't many minutes to go around. Springer has shown flashes of defensive talent, which is encouraging, but his offensive contributions have been minimal, just 1.4 points per game. ESPN has labeled him as the top trade candidate for the Celtics, and honestly, it makes sense. With a contract of $4 million for 1 year, trading him could be a strategic move to alleviate some financial pressure. Imagine if the Celtics could bundle Springer with a second-round pick and send him to the Washington Wizards. That could save Boston a whopping $16 million in luxury tax payments. It's a business move that could potentially open doors for our two-way players, like J.D. Davison, who are just waiting for their chance to shine. It's hard not to feel a mix of hope and sadness thinking about Springer's potential elsewhere. But the reality is, this might be the right move for both him and the team. So where does this leave us as passionate Celtics fans? Each of these players has a story, a journey, and potential that just hasn't fully materialized in Boston. As we look at the bigger picture, we have to ask ourselves, are these moves the right path forward? Honestly, I'm torn. I want to see the team thrive and contend for championships, but I also feel for the players who might be on their way out. And you, what do you think? I want to hear your opinions down below. Do you think Walsh, Tillman, or Springer will be traded? Or do you believe the Celtics should hold on to them for now? Your insights are invaluable, and this is the kind of debate we should be having as a community of loyal fans. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated with all the latest Celtics news, and make sure to activate the notification bell to get all the latest updates. Let's keep this conversation going and stay engaged as we navigate this pivotal moment in our beloved team's journey.